YouTube Ozek going, the GOAT House is back in the middle of NFL madness. A huge day in the NFL today. Roster cuts. Teams bringing down their roster size to 53. Some major cuts going on as we speak. And later today will be somewhat of a mini free agency with the waiver claim period. So a lot of your teams will bring in some new players, and then more cuts will have to be made there. And we're covering that fully right now all day on our Twitter. Constant NFL action on there. There's more content on there than the YouTube, in my opinion, just in text form. So if you're not following that Twitter, honestly, I don't know what you're doing. You're missing out there, so I'd really appreciate if you could check it out. You won't regret it there. And then we'll be live tweeting during NFL games all year long. So it's worth the follow there on the Twitter. We got you covered with all the news, the breaking news as it happens. We also have an Instagram, podcast, Patreon. Patreon has bonus content throughout the NFL season, even throughout draft season. So you can check that out as well. Link in the description in the comments for anything that you may need there, including that Twitter. But today's video, fun one here. We're doing a TierMaker. We're actually going to do two of these, two separate videos, basically the same thing, but this one for playoff contenders. So I'm taking each NFL team and putting them in a tier based on their contention for the playoffs. The other video will be Super Bowl contention. So two separate videos, basically the same idea. A lot of fun here. We can get started right now. So TierMaker.com is what I'm using, and you see the different tiers. Again, this is playoff contention here. Elite contender, I view that as like I fully expect them to be in the playoffs. Like it's pathetic if they miss. Based on their roster, my thoughts on the roster, they should make it. It's pretty much embarrassing if they don't make the playoffs. Contender, yeah, pretty good chance to make it. They're not guaranteed, but they have a pretty good chance to make it, or a pretty good shot to compete to make it. A lot of teams will probably fall under that in this video. Dark horse, team that definitely can make it, could be a sneaky team. So that's a pretty good tier as well. Long shot, so obviously not the best chance to make it, but I wouldn't rule them out. And then no, I just don't think they're making it. I don't expect too many teams under there. I haven't gone through this yet. I'm going through this live right now with you guys, so this should be a lot of fun here. So we'll just go in order, and I apologize. I didn't create this actual TierMaker. I didn't put the logos in there, but you see the Washington team's logo is off there, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I think everyone will be okay. The Cardinals, that's already tough right off the bat. It's between contender and dark horse contender. Actually, it's not that hard. I'm gonna put them under contender. Tough division, but I do like their schedule. They have that. I've talked about it all offseason. They have that game plan factor. It's a unique offense. It's a very fast offense. They're going to throw the crap out of the ball, too, and they can run it with Kenyon Drake. It could be a sneaky team. See, the Niners have some matchup issues with the Cardinals based on last year. We'll see if that continues the new year. And nothing major, obviously. It's just that was a tougher team, it felt like, just based on what I saw in the field in the matchup compared to some teams in the playoffs. The Vikings, teams like that, way tougher. So thought that was interesting. Cardinals, put under contender. The Falcons, Cardinals, I think, might have the easiest schedule in football. The Falcons, I think, probably have the hardest, but a pretty good roster, a pretty explosive offense. We're going to put under contender. That schedule's tough. It's going to be tough to make it there. All right, easy here. Ravens, elite contender, elite offense, Lamar Jackson. Some teams kind of start to know what's coming, and you still can't stop it, though. And I think he's improving as a passer. Very well coached defense with Don Martindale. Really good secondary, elite contender. The Bills. I knew this was going to be a tough one before even getting into it. I might surprise some people here. I'm going to put them under elite playoff contender. And again, it's a team I fully expect to make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, it's quite embarrassing. Unless there's some major injury, of course, obviously. Should go without saying. With their division, and I think maybe the best defense football, it's up there, and a very complete team, well-built team. They should, and mainly because of that division, they should be in the playoffs. They should be in the playoffs. It almost should be a lock. I'm not going to call really anybody a lock. I don't like doing that. But I'm going to put them that high. A lot rides on Josh Allen. Half the world believes in him. Half the world doesn't. Even if he struggles a little bit, that's kind of the thing about the Bills too. Even if he struggles at times, which he could, this team should still make the playoffs, with that roster, with that division. So that's why I put them up there. Panthers. Ooh, that's thinking dark horse or long shot. I was gonna put long shot. I'm gonna do dark horse because that offense could be sneaky good there. The defense we're not expecting too much, but I put them under dark horse just because that offense could be that explosive. Joe Brady leading the way there. It's borderline dark horse and long shot. The Bears, yesterday it comes out that Trubisky is actually going to be their starter. I think they're kind of too attached to him. I think they're just forcing it. They're just, we've kind of seen enough to know, he can improve, but by how much? I think Foles with Nagy's playbook with that system gives him a better shot. So before yesterday, I probably would have put them under contender, but I'm going to put them under dark horse now. The defense is great. The question is, can the defense get them there alone in today's NFL? I say they can, but it's tougher. It's definitely tougher than what they did a couple years ago. Their defense did that. Their offense gonna have to pick it up. I don't have a lot of trust, but they're a dark horse team because the defense and the offense could be kind of sneaky there. I definitely put them out of the Panthers though. If I wanted to order this, I don't see the need to order this though. The Panthers, I'm still borderline the dark horse long shot for the Panthers for making the playoffs. It's going to be really tough looking at that division too. I almost want to move them down here now. Panthers fans, hopefully they tuned out. They turned the video off before I did that. The Bengals, I'm not going to put under no. I'm put under long shot. Joe Burrow could be that good, and he has the weapons. Joe Mixon, all those receivers. Offense line's the question. Defense, they got some young playmakers, but that could be the question as well. I'm not going to say no because that offense could be that explosive. It's an offensive-driven league. They're in the same boat as the Panthers here. They're in the same boat, so they need to be in the same category. The Browns, I'm actually going to – people probably put them – ooh, that's tough actually. A lot of people probably throw them under contender. I'm going to say dark horse. That defense could be one of the worst in football, unfortunately, because of injuries. Offense should be good. Playmakers everywhere, and people instantly want to put them up there, and the defense will weigh them down a little bit. It's also a first-year coach that really never goes that well, especially with a young team, young quarterback. So I'm going to put it on a dark horse. It's borderline contender, dark horse. Cowboys, I'm putting them under elite contender. You look at this roster, it's a very good roster. The offense in an offensive-driven league is very explosive. A new coach, and it's a first-year coach, so that can create some struggles, but the offense is so good, including the offensive line, where it starts. The quarterback position proven as well. I think what was holding them back last year was kind of the play calling. I think they fixed that. They're kind of a wait and see, but I think they fixed that. Looking at their division, looking at the talent on their team, and their defense is quite underrated. They added more pass rush. Looks like they're getting Randy Gregory back too. So I had the pass rush with the starters, DeMarcus Lawrence, Everson Griffin, the linebacker unit, and now they have crazy depth rotation at the position as well. So mainly this offense I think is gonna be that explosive. This team should make the playoffs. No excuses. They've been disappointing in the past, but now's the time for sure. We're moving on to the Broncos. Easy one. I'm put the Broncos under contender. I think, this defense will be one of the top defenses in football under Vic Fangio, one of the best defensive minds in football. So that could get them a good amount of wins alone. The question is, can the defense get them to the playoffs alone in today's NFL? Much like I talked about the Bears, they can, but you can't rely on the defense alone. This offense with the playmakers they had, the 1-2 punch at running back, the receiver unit, combined with the tight end unit, looking pretty loaded now. Offensive line, a little concerned. Drew Lock is a guy I believe in, but you can't expect too much right now. I've heard some things recently at training camp that they kind of had to simplify the playbook a little more, so I don't really like the sound of that, but I think the defense is great. The offense has the playmakers, that big playability here and there, because Drew Lock, again, he'll struggle at times, but at least he has that big shot ability, which you need in a quarterback. That's what separates the men from the boys today. Can you make that extra play downfield? And Drew Lock can, so I'll put the Broncos under contender. The Lions, put the Lions under dark horse. I think a pretty complete team. Defense will go up some yards, but it's a pretty solid defense, better than last year, I think. The offense is very good. I think they would be contender if I can trust them to be two things: consistent and healthy down the stretch of the season. Looking at Stafford, look at the running back unit, looking at Marvin Jones gets beat up, so they could be a sneaky contender, which I categorize under dark horse. The Packers. That's another tough one. I was right away going to put them under elite contender. They got a pretty good team, defense improving, and they got Aaron Rodgers. They won that division last year, the NFC North, made the NFC Championship. But I'm actually going to put them under contender because I guess how I categorize that, pathetic if they miss the playoffs, or kind of crazy if they miss the playoffs, maybe, if you will. With that division, I think it's an up in the air. Anybody can win, kind of, and we don't know how, they kind of escaped some games last year. We don't know how LaFleur in the second year, but I do like this team. So I can't really say it's, maybe mind-blowing if they miss the playoffs. So that's why I can't put them in the top tier. But they're kind of borderline. Elite, contender. They're right there. They would probably, again, I don't feel like ordering all this. I think but they would definitely be there at this point. I can go at the end and order this. That's going to give away a lot of my final predictions, maybe. But this isn't final season predictions. Texans, we're going to go contender. I think a good enough team, explosive offense. Deshaun Watson improving, one of the better quarterbacks in football. The offensive line improving. Defense, got to stay healthy, mainly J.J. Watt, and they can provide the pressure. Tough division, other division where 3 teams, out of those 3 teams, I think anybody can win. They don't have DeAndre Hopkins anymore. It's a big player loss, but I don't know if you're really going to notice that much, I'll put them under contender. It's a team that will probably go, they're going to be up here with the Packers, Colts, I'll put under contender. It's a team you don't know what to expect from. They got some studs in some different spots, and those guys definitely can take over. They add DeForest Buckner. Phillip Rivers, that's kind of where it starts. You don't know what to expect. What Phillip Rivers are we going to get? Last year, Phillip Rivers, it's a first-year guy, with the Colts. So you don't really know what you're going to get from the Colts in general, really. But they have talent in some good spots. They got some really, they got really good players, and they kind of got some spots where they definitely can get better. Some holes or some mysteries. Kind of all over the place with their roster, but could be a sneaky good team. But I'm more than a dark horse because they have a chance to win that division. They have a chance there. Titans, Texans. It's a tough division to be in, but they have a chance. Jaguars. I hate to do it. I'm going to put them under. No. Come back. Could be an old take exposed here. It just feels like it doesn't even feel like I don't want to say want to, but it doesn't feel like they're building their team to make it. Still need to see more from Minshew. Running back position's a question mark. I like the receivers. Offensive line, inconsistent. 1 week good, 1 week bad. Defense, they can have some pass rush. Linebacker unit's okay. Pretty solid. But that's really about it. The interior's lacking, and you can air it deep on that. And there's just nothing that tells me this team's going to make the playoffs, especially when they got the Texans, Colts, Titans ahead of them in their division as well. The Chiefs, all right, moving on. The Raiders, ooh. I'm going to put, they're right here. I'm going to put them under contender. It's a tough division, though. Tough division, but it's a really complete team. It's just really, it's kind of like the Colts there, kind of like those teams with the question mark at the quarterback. If Derek Carr can figure it out, which we know he can, we've seen it before, and stay consistent, they could be good. It's a complete team. I always talk about it's a very, very complete team, but they're missing the takeover players. They have Josh Jacobs. Other than that, they're missing, those guys that are just a huge impact players, takeover players. But Derek Carr kind of can be that. I'm not saying you will, but he can be that, and that could be the difference here. Another year under Gruden. I'll put them under contender, but they're borderline with the dark horse there. Chargers, I'm going to say a long shot. Defense can win them some games alone, but then you take the hit of Derwin James, most important player on that defense, and the offense could be sneaky good. I just don't think it has enough. Derwin James, that big of a loss. I put them under dark horse if they had Derwin James still. That's how big of a loss that is, because that defense could be that defense that wins that many games alone for them. And it still will win a good amount of games alone by itself. But I'm gonna put under a long shot. The Rams, I'm gonna put under a contender. I'm not in love with this roster. The offensive line is kind of what's holding them back. But they have major talent in some major impact spots, which is great. They're well coached, good secondary. They have Aaron Donald, tough schedule, tough division. So, maybe some people want to call them a dark horse, but they have the takeover talent in the right spots, and they have the experience as well. I'm going to say the Dolphins are a long shot. They're starting to feel more like a complete team. And another year under Brian Flores, the defense could be sneaky good. Offense got pretty explosive at the end of the year, so that could be a sneaky team. For some reason, I view this schedule as very hard. I don't know how that could be, but it is. And they're still, even though they're becoming more complete, it's in spots where they're young, they're fresh, a lot of learning curve going to happen. So put them under a long shot. Sounds like Fitzpatrick will start. Vikings, I think, is a pretty easy one. Contender. They will contend for. They can win their division as well. We talked about that division's kind of wide open. The Packers could win it. The Vikings could win it. The Bears could win it. The Lions could win it. But the Vikings are, we know we're going to get from them. They're always in that range. They're going to squeeze in the playoffs. A few years ago they were pretty dominant, but they can squeeze in the playoffs, or they're just going to squeeze out of the playoffs. So I put them in the contender. I think everyone could agree with a lot of these contenders here. Patriots are put under contender. The roster doesn't look that good compared to some of these other rosters on the contender spot, but they have Bill Belichick. They have, Cam Newton. If he's healthy, he's very good. And they have some major impact players in the right spot. They're the Patriots. We'll put them under contender. The Saints, pretty easy one. It's going to be elite contender. Very complete team. They got impact players in the right spot. They're very dominant in the regular season. Sean Payton, one of the best coaches, maybe ever. Really, maybe ever. So they'll get there. The Giants, another one, like the Dolphins, surprisingly have a tough schedule. I like their offense, so their offense kind of makes you put in there, but the defense will be one of the worst in football, I think. They got hit with the cornerback position, mainly some opt-outs, DeAndre Baker situation. They don't have the pass rush. They got a good defensive line. The 3 players that play on the defensive line. Is that enough, though? Tough schedule for some reason. Right off the bat, Steelers was that Monday night. If they win that game, that's looking good, even though you can't have too many takeaways from week 1. The Jets, I'm gonna put them under a long shot. I was gonna put them under no because I don't like Gase. You guys know I don't like Gase. I don't believe in Gase. I'm not a huge Darnold guy either, but Darnold could get better. No one's doubting that. He improves this year. That's huge. They use Le'Veon Bell correctly. That's huge. Offensive line might have got better. The defense is still pretty good. Quinn Williams is going to take off, but they got hit with some opt-outs and trading Jamal Adams. But I still view it as a pretty solid defense. So I'll put them under a long shot. It's still a long shot. Eagles, I think that's easy. Put them under contender. They got hit with some injuries. If it wasn't for all those injuries, they could be right there with the Cowboys. They right there with the Cowboys, but these injuries and having those players that we all know in the back of our minds, unfortunately, could get injured during the year. They could be in and out. Knowing that is pretty tough. And being inconsistent last year at times, very well coached team, but a team that does have those major impact players, the takeover players in the right spots as well. So that's why they might be a favorite to make the playoffs for some people. Steelers, same thing. Worried about some health there. Big Ben coming out back from that surgery. Is he the same? Where will he be at? Will he stay healthy? James Conner, players like that. But a great defense and offense that could be really good, but could struggle. Kind of don't know where I'm at. But I think it's pretty clear-cut contender there. The Niners, it's a tough one because the injuries are piling up and they have a bunch of players. They're very similar to the Eagles. Bunch of players that we know could get hurt at any time. They could be in and out, maybe out for the season. That's unfortunate. That's kind of what hurt them in the past. Why they were kind of a bad team in the past, it wasn't because they were a bad roster. It's because of the injuries, and that could come back to haunt them this year. A way tougher schedule this year. But this roster is so well built, and I don't think there's as many major injuries right now as compared to a team like the Eagles, so I'm going to put them under elite contender. But they honestly might be on the lower end of that just because of the things I said, not because of their talent on the roster. Talent on the roster is fantastic. Seahawks here. We know we're going to get from the Seahawks. They're going to be a very good team. They have another team that has those major impact players in some great spots. Russell Wilson. People have been iffy on their roster for quite some time the last few years, and they kind of been questioning. They have the same game plan every year. Will it catch up to them? Everyone's questioning at some point, but they still stay consistent. We still know what we're going to get from the Seahawks, so there's no reason to stop believing now, right? But the edge rush is a little bit of concern. Maybe that's a little different, but they're going to get pressure from different spots. Buccaneers, I'm going to put them here. Their roster is really good. People bring up, it's just Tom Brady. You believe in Tom Brady too much. It's not. That's big. Let me just say this. I was planning to have the Buccaneers make the playoffs, not as good, make the playoffs if they had Jameis Winston as their quarterback. That roster is that good. People need to realize it. If healthy, it's that good. The offensive line got better. They got Leonard Fournette. The receivers, everyone knows those weapons are that good. Come on. The defense, secondary, that Bucs secondary might be the most underrated unit in all of football. There are some young, big-time playmakers in there that I thought they proved to me last year. Winfield not proved yet. They get my number one safety. They add him to the mix. It feels like he's been almost felt like a veteran presence in camp already. It's weird. son of Antoine Winfield. Maybe that plays a part in that. But the secondary can make plays, and they have the front seven to help them out for sure. That roster, even if there's a lot of first-year guys, if that roster doesn't make the playoffs while being healthy, I'd be concerned. I don't know. I put pathetic. Pathetic might be harsh, but I thought that was fitting there. Titans, I almost put them up here, but I'm going to put them down here. I like their system. I like their play calling now. Their offensive line's good. Derrick Henry, one of the more explosive players in football. A.J. Brown up there. The defense is a very, very complete defense. They want to provide more edge rush pressure, which as of recording this, they didn't sign Clowney yet. It's about 50-50 them Saints, so that could help them more. Very well coached. I think I mentioned that. I like Tannehill. I believe in Tannehill if he stays healthy, but there are some question marks. Can teams start to figure things out? But teams already kind of stacked the box. I'm putting if I had to move, I'd put the Titans right here. Titans, Packers, Texans. Look at these other teams, probably in the same range. We'll probably bump the Vikings up right there. The Steelers up in this range right here. The Eagles, somewhere in this range, ballpark. I'll get my final season predictions, but the Titans are at the top there. Tannehill stay healthy, and we'll see how it goes there. They're borderline. Again, they're borderline. Washington, Washington football team. I apologize for the logo here. I didn't put these logos into this. Somebody else did. Surprising some people here. Dark horse contender. This defense can be really good. Really good. That front seven pressure with the rotation. It's going to be really, really good. And their offense, I think people are sleeping on. They actually got more playmakers than you think. Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. There's Sims going to step up at receiver. There's going to be some guys that step up. The running back depth. Haskins, I think, is better than you think. He'll still struggle. They're pretty much in this. I think the Bears are better, but they're in the same area as the Bears. I think they're pretty similar though. Pretty similar. I think people are kind of split. Those teams that are very good defensively. Maybe the Chargers are on the same area as Washington. Derwin James taking a hit. I'm gonna move the Chargers up here. Chargers fans probably already turned off the video, but I'm a big fan of Gus Bradley in that defense. So we'll bump it up. And Tyrod, he's made the playoffs before. It'd be fair to put the Chargers up to there. Washington could be a sneaky. It's one of those sneaky teams. I'm not predicting them to go to the playoffs, so don't give me any of that. But yeah, you see my point there. We'll do the same exact video, but for Super Bowl contention. So we'll see a lot of. Can you guys see this mouse? You guys can see the mouse. A lot of teams will be down here. More teams will be down here. Less teams up here. See a lot of teams here. It'll be a little different for the Super Bowl contention. So that should be a lot of fun as well. But that is going to do it for this one. Full NFL coverage on that Twitter right now with all the action coming out. I'm probably missing some right now recording this video. We got you covered there, even on this channel. So please subscribe. Click that like button if you enjoyed. More on the way. Turn notifications on. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.